Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, interesting news, as you guys can see on the screen. Bob Arum, your main man, Bob Arum, the Bob father, he was recently speaking to BoxingScene.com, and he stated that the big fight in the bantamweight division between Naoya Inoue and Riel Casimero will have to be put on the back burner, and it might not be happening for quite some time. So we'll get into the article. For those of you who have no clue what I'm talking about, as many of us know, Riel Casimero and Naoya Inoue, they were supposed to have a big unification title fight in Las Vegas. I think the date was April the 18th or something like that, April the 20th. And obviously, like many of the fights, all the fights, they got canceled because of the coronavirus. And it's probably, if you ask the hardcore boxing fans, this is probably the main fight that we're pissed off that it got canceled. And now Bob Arum is saying that it might not happen for quite some time. So let's get into the quotes, and we will dissect there from what Bob Arum said. He was speaking to Christina Pancha, and he told her, I quote, "Unfortunately, I would have to say no. They had relaxed rules, relatively relaxed rules regarding this pandemic. The cases in Japan have really picked up, so now Japan is under a state of emergency." And what he was referring to is that in Japan, nobody can really leave. Everybody's just on lockdown. So Inoue can't come to America. And it kind of sucks because the Monster Inoue's debut, not his American debut, but his ESPN debut was going to be this fight. And this fight was going to be one of the fights of the year. I mean, this was going to be one of the most entertaining fights of 2020. And now, in all reality, the likelihood is that we might not even get this fight in 2020. So let's continue. He then went on by saying, one thing we were considering is having Casimero go over to Japan and do that fight in Japan. At one point, it appeared possible. It is no longer possible, and Inoue won't be able to come to America anytime soon. Unfortunately, it looks like we have to put that fight on the back burner. Casimero has stayed in the United States in Las Vegas, and perhaps we can talk to his people and do another fight for him. So, there's a lot of layers to this. Okay, there's a lot of layers to this. Inoue is in Japan. Japan is on complete lockdown. Nobody can come in. Nobody can come out. Okay, so that eliminates the possibility of Casimero going to Japan or of Inoue coming to America. So that's done and dusted until this whole thing blows over. But in the meantime, Casimero, I actually saw Casimero. I had the chance to watch him train and interviewed him right before he left because he was training right here down in Miami at Mundo Boxing Gym. So shout out to Mundo Boxing Gym. I saw him a couple of days before he flew to Las Vegas for the fight to get acclimatized to the time zone and being in America. And he was ready for this fight. I mean, we saw a Casimero in the gym that looked extremely hungry, and this was going to be one of the fight of the years. So it sucks that it's not happening, but they're saying that they're looking to get him an immediate intermediate fight while we wait for things to clear up in Japan. So let's take a look at who his potential opponents could be, because it's bad enough we can't see this fight already. But for those of you who don't know, he's staying in Las Vegas at Sean Gibbons' house. And for those of you who don't know who Sean Gibbons is the manager of Manny Pacquiao. So him and Manny Pacquiao have the same manager. He's staying at Sean Gibbons' house, and he's just training and staying in shape and shaking out over there. So he's definitely still in America. Maybe this winds up boding well for Casimero. Maybe he can fight on ESPN when things clear up. Maybe it's a chance for him to build his profile without Inoue, so that way if he looks impressive on ESPN before then the Inoue fight becomes that much bigger. But let's look at maybe some opponents that Casimero could wind up fighting. Okay, so just looking at Casimero, he's a WBO bantamweight champion. There are some interesting matchups there for Casimero. We'll start off with number one, because I think number one, right here, Joshua Greer, I think this might probably be the most makeable fight for him, because Joshua Greer, he signed a Top Rank, he's an American fighter, he's going to be fighting on ESPN, and he's number one in the rankings, so that could be a good fight. Greer's got good punching power. He's been struggling a bit in his last couple of fights. He fought Nikolai Potapov. I thought Potapov beat him, but it'd be a chance for Greer to really make a statement in the bantamweight division, become world champion, and show that he's better than he showed in those last couple of fights. And for Casimero, he's fought much better fighters than Greer, but Greer will still be a solid, stay busy fight for him in the meantime. You got Jason Maloney, who might be fighting. No, not Jason Maloney. His brother. He has a brother that's supposed to fight Roman Gonzalez. You got him. You got Takuma Inoue, who's Naoya Inoue's brother, which I think would be a great matchup. But he's in Japan, so you probably don't think he's going to be able to come to America. So that you scratch that out. He already beat Zolani Tate to become world champion, so you can scratch that out for now. Well, you got Joshua Franco, good young fighter. You got Raymar Caballo, another good fighter. I'm not really sure of these fighters who's available because of the virus, and I think what it comes down to is what countries do these guys live in, because most of these guys live in countries where the coronavirus will not allow anybody to come in or out the country. So I think he's going to have to fight somebody who's either already in America that trains here, who's actually training here, or an American fighter. So I'm looking at number 1 and number 4, Joshua Greer and Joshua Franco being the matchups for Casimero. Now, Greer, I want to see the Greer fight because I think it's time for Greer to really show and prove. You know, Joshua Greer was a fighter that, if we could go back 2 years ago, when he was a prospect and he was fighting on Showbox and he was fighting, you know, the James Gordon Smiths of the world, and he was knocking them out and he was pulling the pillow out, celebrating after the fight, you know, people were really high on Joshua Greer. And his last couple of fights, as he stepped it up, haven't been as impressive. You know, he's been getting dropped. He's been winning very, very close fights, fights that many people thought he lost. So people think he's getting the benefit of the doubt in his last couple of fights. So a win over Casimero, I think, would really do wonders for the career of Joshua Greer. And not only that, you know, he could be, because of his personality, because of his style, I think he'll be in a lot of interesting like TV fights. So I think, to me, that's the most logical choice if they're going to do an intermediate fight for Casimero in America, because the reality is this guy came from the Philippines. He trained his ass off in America for an Inoue fight. Then the coronavirus came, and he's not getting the Inoue fight. So they got to do something for Casimero. So I think Joshua Greer is the most makeable fight. It's the easiest fight to make. Joshua Franco would be a good fight. I don't know as much about Joshua Franco as I do Joshua Greer, but Franco's a good fighter. You know, he trains under Robert Garcia in the gym in Oxnard, California. And I watched him fight on some undercard. I can't remember which undercard it was, but good fighter. Really good on his front foot, solid defensive skills. Looks to be a guy that I think will potentially win a world title one day. He's got that kind of talent, so that could be a good fight as well. So Joshua Greer, Joshua Franco, I'm looking at one of these two guys to be his next opponent. But you guys let me know what you think. Bob Arum's coming out and saying that Casimero and Inoue will not be happening for quite some time. So, you know, you make of that what you will. It's very sad for the hardcore boxing fans because there wasn't a fight. I kid you not. You know, on my lives, I've been asking this question about all the fights that got canceled. All the fights got canceled that were scheduled to happen in April and it happened in May. Which one are you most upset about not happening? And it was this fight right here between Casimero and Inoue. So, and for me personally, I'm pretty pissed off about it too because I was supposed to go to this fight. I was going to be there. I was going to be in the MGM Grand for this fight. You know, and I never covered a fight in the MGM Grand, so I'm pissed off about that myself. So, anyway, that's the news. You guys let me know what you think of that in the comments down below. Make sure you take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just Kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.